rainy Tuesday night when Sarah checked into the Royal Pines Motel. She was exhausted from a long drive, seeking a quiet place to rest before continuing her journey. The motel looked dated, with peeling paint and flickering neon lights, but she didn't care. All she wanted was a bed and a hot shower. As she walked into the lobby, the desk clerk, an older man with a receding hairline and a perpetual scowl, handed her the key to room 304 without much of a greeting. The room was on the third floor, at the very end of a dimly lit hallway. The carpet was worn, and the air smelled slightly musty, but again, Sarah wasn't picky. She just needed sleep. Room 304 was as unremarkable as the rest of the motel. A standard double bed, a small TV, and a dresser. The bathroom had seen better days, with chipped tiles and a shower that groaned when she turned it on. After a quick, lukewarm shower, she slipped into bed, hoping to fall asleep to the soft hum of the old air conditioner. But sleep didn't come easily. Maybe it was the storm outside, with rain pounding against the window and the occasional flash of lightning illuminating the room. Or perhaps it was the unsettling feeling that she wasn't alone. Sarah shrugged it off as her imagination playing tricks on her, the result of too many late-night horror movies. She turned off the lamp and closed her eyes, pulling the covers up to her chin. Just as she started to drift off, she heard a soft creak. Her eyes snapped open. The room was pitch black, but she could sense something was off. She stayed still, straining to listen. There it was again, a soft creak, like a door slowly opening. Sarah's heart began to race. She fumbled for her phone on the nightstand and turned on the flashlight. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing an empty room. She let out a shaky breath, feeling silly. "It's just an old motel," she muttered to herself. "Old places make noises." Just as she was about to turn off the light and try to sleep again, she saw it, a shadow, faint but distinct, moving across the far wall. Her breath caught in her throat. There was no one else in the room, and the door was still locked. She stared at the shadow, trying to make sense of it. It looked like the outline of a person standing just out of sight by the bathroom door. "Hello?" she called out, her voice trembling. There was no response, only the sound of rain and the quiet hum of the air conditioner. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She swung her legs out of bed and stood up, her eyes never leaving the shadow. As she moved closer, the shadow seemed to shift, almost as if it were moving away from her. She reached the bathroom door and flung it open, expecting to find someone hiding. But the bathroom was empty, just as she had left it. Confused and scared, she turned around, only to find the shadow now on the wall opposite her. It was closer, more defined. She could see the outline of a head, shoulders, and a raised arm. Panic set in. Sarah grabbed her things and bolted out of the room, not caring that she was still in her pajamas. She raced down the hallway, heart pounding in her chest, and burst into the lobby. The desk clerk looked up, startled, as she ran towards him, breathless and wide-eyed. "There's someone in my room," she gasped. "A shadow. A person. I don't know." The clerk's expression changed to one of concern mixed with a hint of annoyance. He sighed and stood up, grabbing a flashlight from under the desk. "Let's take a look," he said, motioning for her to follow. They returned to room 304, but when the clerk unlocked the door and switched on the lights, the room was empty. The shadow was gone, and everything seemed perfectly normal. Sarah felt a wave of embarrassment wash over her. Had she imagined it all? The clerk turned to her, his expression softening. "Sometimes the old wiring can cause weird shadows. It's nothing to worry about," he said, though his tone wasn't entirely convincing. He handed her a key to another room on the first floor, and Sarah reluctantly agreed to move. That night, she didn't sleep much. Every creak and groan of the building made her jump. But thankfully, The rest of her stay was uneventful. The next morning, she checked out early, not bothering to mention the shadow again. As she pulled out of the parking lot, she glanced back at the motel, wondering if it was all in her head or if something, or someone, really was lurking in room 304. What do you make of what happened in room 304? Was it just Sarah's imagination running wild? Or was something more sinister at play? Have you ever stayed somewhere that made you question whether you were really alone? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to hear your own eerie encounters. If this story left you looking over your shoulder, brace yourself, because the next tale, The Hitchhiker's Revenge, will take you down an even darker road where you might think twice about opening your door at night. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this one. Alex had been driving for hours, chasing the sunset on his way to a business meeting in another state. He liked the solitude of the open road, the endless stretches of highway where he could lose himself in thought. But as night fell, fatigue began to set in, and he decided it was time to find a place to rest. He spotted a small roadside inn with a flickering vacancy sign and decided it was as good a place as any to stop for the night. The inn was quaint, almost charming, with its rustic decor and warm wooden interiors. The elderly woman at the front desk greeted him with a friendly smile, handing him the key to room 12. Alex thanked her and carried his bags up the narrow staircase, eager to get some sleep. Room 12 was small but cozy, with a neatly made bed, a wooden dresser, and a painting of a serene landscape hanging on the wall. He dropped his bags and flopped onto the bed, letting out a deep sigh. Just as he was about to close his eyes, there was a knock on the door. It was strange. He hadn't ordered room service or anything. He hesitated for a moment, but then got up to answer it. When he opened the door, he was met with the sight of a disheveled young woman, drenched from the rain that had started pouring outside. She looked to be in her mid-20s, with wild curly hair and eyes that seemed haunted. "Please, can I come in? I just need a place to stay for a few minutes. I've been walking for hours," she pleaded, her voice trembling. Alex was taken aback. It wasn't common to encounter someone in need like this, especially so late at night. Against his better judgment, he nodded and let her in. "Sure, but just for a bit," he said, still cautious. The woman stepped inside, dripping water onto the carpet, and he handed her a towel. As she dried off, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. There was an unsettling air about her, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. He offered her a chair by the small table and asked if she needed anything. Water, maybe? "No, thank you. I just need to rest for a moment," she replied, staring out the window into the darkness. There was a long silence, broken only by the patter of rain against the glass. Alex felt the tension in the room grow, like a tightening noose. After a few minutes, she spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "You know, it's dangerous to pick up hitchhikers. You never know who you might run into." Alex's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't picked her up, but the statement felt like an ominous warning. He cleared his throat, trying to sound calm. "I didn't pick you up. You came to my door." She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Exactly," she said, her eyes locking onto his. There was something unnerving in her gaze, a coldness that sent a chill down his spine. Before he could respond, the room's lights flickered and the woman's face twisted into a grimace. The air grew colder, and Alex felt a sudden, overwhelming sense of dread. It was like the room had been plunged into an invisible fog, thick and suffocating. He took a step back, instinctively reaching for the door. "I think you should leave," he said, his voice shaking slightly. The woman stood up slowly, still holding the towel. She walked towards the door, but instead of leaving, she turned and looked at him one last time. There was something almost sad in her expression, a sorrowful look that made Alex's heart ache with an inexplicable sadness. "Be careful who you let in," she murmured before slipping out into the hallway. Alex quickly closed the door and locked it, his heart pounding. He leaned against the door, trying to steady his breathing. What the hell had just happened? The rest of the night, Alex couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the encounter in his head, the woman's eerie warning echoing in his ears. He finally drifted off just before dawn, plagued by uneasy dreams. The next morning, as he checked out, Alex mentioned the encounter to the elderly woman at the front desk. She looked puzzled and concerned. "There shouldn't have been anyone knocking on your door," she said, "and we had no other guests last night." Alex felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He left the inn quickly, eager to put the strange night behind him. But as he drove away, he couldn't shake the feeling that the encounter had been more than just a strange, random meeting. If you want to see more horror stories, check out my next video.